All right, welcome back. We're still here. It's still your program, Governance Today. And we've been talking to the vice presidential candidate of People's Party of Nigeria in person of Chief Opara, Robert Opara, in full. And we've not mentioned his principle. And I would just love him to talk about his principle. I was just buying time on that. So, him to talk about his principle. What do you and your principal intend to do? You've mentioned the fact that insecurity is one focal point, that intelligence gathering to be able to follow up on security challenges is what you're looking forward to. And then in corruption, we intend to carry out an holistic investigation to see that corruption is a one-way thing, not just partial, just like you mentioned. And just forget, viewers, our phone lines are on your screen. You can call in to contribute to your quote, and he's here. You can trade a lot of questions to him and his party, so he gives it. But don't forget, PPN is also part of the coalition of a United Political Party. They also form that political. But let's talk to you, Chief Opara. Basically, your principal, Al Mustafa Hamza, that's retired. What do you intend to do aside the whole corruption, aside the insecurity, which has been our discussion so far? What do you intend? I'm saying you, I mean you as a party. What is your agenda differently with elections just a month from today?
See, my sister, leadership is the topic.
Okay.
And my principal, His Excellency Hamza Mustafa, has shown a track record of acumen, dexterity, and leadership in this country. Let me explain. As a CSO, as a major in the army, and he was the CSO to, the late Abacha, Sani Abacha. When his boss died, something came up, an opportunity for somebody, a young man like that, to take over the reins of governance in this country. But he didn't. He passed. And all he did was to ensure that when those henchmen, the soldiers assembled, by the way, I was told that most of them didn't know that his boss had already died. And so, if he is the type of power-hungry guy, I'm sure he had the opportunity to become head of state at that time. And ever since then, in spite of what he went through in prisons and allegations and all that, he's a free man now. And in spite of allegations, people threw at him, he did that, he didn't do that. But I know my boss that they don't know. I know that he's a hardworking man. He knows a lot about leadership. And both of us agree that leadership is the only thing that has stalled the development of this country. And he is prepared to provide that leadership. And he's been doing that to the youths, he's been doing that to the women, he's been doing that to lots of people across this country with different NGOs that he had run. Fine, NGO is not government, but because government is a different ballgame. But I'm saying you will have to start from somewhere. He has been a power broker. He's been in power, literally, with his boss. All I'm saying is that we have decided that we are going to change the leadership and infrastructural development narratives of this country. Because at the end of the day, what we see today is not a smoothly and widespread distribution of infrastructure across this land. That's what we've seen since 1999. And what PPN is doing right now is that PPN has become the third force in the political process and leadership of this country. Because I want to make bold to say that the political leadership of this country from 1999 to date has failed Nigerians. Because the expectations of Nigerians keep rolling back every 4 years. Our expectations today is to make sure that our life is better, and by the time we have a new government and all that, it started from 1999. So for me, since 1999, PDP and APC have shared power. And to what extent have we developed this country so far? And in spite of the billions of naira and pounds and dollars that have been injected into this economy, there's still a lot of unemployment. So for me, for us, personally, the youth are unemployed in this country. And every single thing that we must do in this country will be geared towards providing employment. We don't have infrastructural clusters around this country. We don't have business, commercial clusters that you say, okay, in Gariki, for instance, there's a big bulk empty space that we are going to just build factories, industries, or bring in, commercial motorcyclists or buying machines or whatever to say, if you want a pen where they manufacture it in Abuja, go to that cluster. We have encouraged people to own that shop. For instance, a shop is 2 million naira or 3 million naira, and a young man that has just finished youth service, where in the world is he going to get that 3 million? So it is the right, is the responsibility of the government to ensure that such a young man is encouraged, giving that shop, giving that money, and what you can do is that, okay, this is 3 million naira, this is this shop, this is this training that we are going to give to you, and everything now boils down to say 5 million, right?
Yeah.
And as it is done in developed climes, all this my brother here that is in front of us, all he wants is something that will put money in the pocket of his family.
Sure.
If he's going to be a cameraman, why don't you develop him to be a super cameraman that you're going to give him equipment worth 3-4 million naira and say, okay, fine, guy, what I'm going to do is that between this time and the next 5 years, you are going to be paying stipends. Okay. And at the end of the day, that is what we want to do in this country, because that is the only thing that can make these youths move, because youth and women cannot just every 4 years be an appendage.
All right, let's pick this call.
Yeah.
Hello. Hello, good evening. Good evening.
How are you?
I'm good. What's your name and where are you calling from? Hello. Okay, can you speak English? Hello, good evening.
How are you? How today?
Fine. What's your name and where are you calling from? From Niger State. Can you allow can your baby allow you speak to us? What's your name from Niger State? Okay, we can. I think you have to call us back when you can speak to us. Let's go ahead with our conversation. I'm sorry, I had to cut you off on that. We've had so much going around with what you've said so far. You've mentioned the fact that leadership is key, and for so far, like I've always mentioned, Nigeria is known as the mother of Africa and whatever we do in terms of our political stability, public stability, reflects in the African continent. And then if your principal understands this basic information which you've just explained, it has to be a holistic change.
Absolutely. Holistic
change in every aspect. Just like you mentioned health, you've mentioned infrastructure, which is key. Infrastructure has to go a long way for Nigerians to understand, because I also always look at the grassroots. It's not always about the city center, what's happening, but the grassroots is what everybody wants to feel. The Nigerians wants to feel the benefits of or the dividends of democracy.
Sure.
So let's look at your slogan on your party logo says equity and progress, and you've also mentioned the fact that women and youths are also one of your focal points in which you intend to look into to ensure that there's inclusive government in this whole play out. Women tend to understand that they want to come out as well, but some of them tend not to go out because they look at the whole finance challenge when it comes to party run or politics. It doesn't speak of. And then for the youth, they feel the whole godfatherism is also there. So for your party, is that the level playing field for youth and women?
See. The not too young to run stuff is just hogwash.
Okay.
Just crap. Put it that way. Because if you say a 20-year-old or 22, 25-year-old young man or young woman is not too young to run, fine. How much does it take to acquire the funds for the State House of Assembly, as a councillor in your local government, as a local government chairman in your local government? How much does it take to buy the funds for House of Representatives, for the governance, governorship, and now the presidential? And a lot of these parties, are they adhering to the principles of internal democracy? The answer is hell no, they are not. The parties are still going to the highest bidder. So in my party, we are giving opportunities to young men and women to excel. We are giving opportunities for women to go out there and run for elections without undue interference.
All right, let's pick this. Hello, good evening. Hello. Hello, are you there? All right, I think you need to call us back. Let's move on with our conversation. Let's go ahead.
Yeah. So at the end of the day, unless it's an institutional failure, really. Our democracy has thrived since 1999 to date, and we have not found it right to ensure that we invest in the infrastructure that will support democracy. All the parties, they are just doing, Ponzi scheme. Basically, most of them are doing Ponzi scheme, and so to vie for a political office is something that must be driven by a vision.
Okay.
And as a government in power, what we need to do is to use the legal and National Assembly instrument to ensure that there is egalitarian process, there's equality before the party members and party women and party leaders, and that the youth are not just going to be reserved for only youth leadership.
All right, let's pick this call. Hello, good evening. Hello. Hello, good evening. Can you hear us? Can you speak up a bit? Okay, I think we can barely hear you. Probably you have to call us back so we can hear what you're saying. You've been talking so much about the whole idea for the young people. They're not too young to run. Family people have been people that I have followed and kept trend with them. They've been fighting so hard to ensure that there's youth participation in politics, in governance as a whole. But you've just called the wash.
It's a hogwash. See, my sister, it doesn't matter how much the youth fights. There's a blockade. There's an intellectual blockade. There's a physical blockade. There's a financial blockade. These kids cannot go past a particular limitations that's been built. It's an inbuilt system in the political process. And so what it takes for somebody to emerge as even a youth leader from his zone, from his local government, is too cumbersome, and it's not something that comes cheap. So all I'm saying is that under our government, democracy must thrive. Okay. Democracy is the most expensive product and project around the world. We must invest in it, not just in political parties. We must invest in the framework that will make sure that democracy thrives. We must invest, cash into a situation where this is an institution that will back democracy. We don't have institutions that back. INEC is just there, collecting money from, different agencies of, foreign governments to support one program to another. No problem. Other countries do that. Do you understand? But I'm saying when EU, for instance, or when the US, for instance, want to invest in our democracy, under our government, we will sit down with them and say, we want you to channel this funding, this naira, dollar, pounds, whatever, into institutions that will make our democracy thrive. Institutions that will train our young men and women. Institutions that will make sure that our women have self-confidence to run for elections, that they are not just there only for women leadership and all that, and carrying bags for men and all that. So with due respect, that is what we see in politics today. So we want to see, why not a woman be a chairman of a party in the States?
I've always wondered that.
Why not a woman be the secretary of a party in the States? Why not a woman be a national chairman of a party? Why not? But the taboo right now is that if you want to fail the election, make a woman leader. Because they won't listen to her. Because that is what is embedded in our psyche.
Okay.
So we need to change all that.
All
that
right.
is what my leader, and myself and our party will do if we get to power.
All right, if you get to power, I love that that phrase. We've been talking so much about the agenda of PPN and what they intend to do differently, and he has mentioned so much. And I'm interested in the parts for women and youths because a lot of political parties have mentioned the fact that youths, yes, employment, we need to look forward to that. But he just like he mentioned, if they are elected into power, so it's there for you as Nigerians because you have your PVCs to go out and choose who you want to be your leader because he said so much about leadership and the essence of good governance